Hello everybody, thank you so much for clicking on this video, and this will be my breakdown for episode 5 of Moon Knight. And I think this has been the best episode for the series so far. I mean, there are so much heartbreaking moments here and tons of character development for Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight. And they show a darker side of the MCU that doesn't require gritty visuals like the Punisher, the Daredevil series, but this right here was more psychologically and mentally, and was like really straining. And I'm loving what Marvel did here in this episode. So let's dive into the breakdown. So what I'm going to do here for you guys is giving you my Moon Knight episode 5 spoiler review, and I'll be putting out little Easter here and there that you may have missed, theorizing to what the finale can be since we only have one episode left. So diving into the beginning of episode 5 of Moon Knight, we pick up right where we left off with Steven and Mac having encountered Tara, where they screen immediately and cut us to Oscar Isaac back in the chair in front of Dr. Hara, only this time he appears physically bruised up and like he went into a battle, and even as far as wearing a bandage on his nose. This is actually really great callback to Moon Knight Lemire run in the comics. Now there has been heavily inspiration on these last Asylum episodes throughout the entire time that Mac can be seen wearing a bandage on his nose. Now, so this kind of messes with our minds time-wise, because in other sections of the episode he will not have any of these bruises of the bandage on his nose. Hell, if you already want to start diving into theories, people are wondering if this is actually Jack Lockley that we're staring at right now. People are pointing out that Oscar Isaac's accent is a little different here, in a little bit more of New York and rough. Now he also seems very quick to attack and go after someone, and that feels like what we know that the Jack Lockley persona to be, at least in the MCU version. But either way, this alternative personality of Max Spector quickly gets sedated, and we jump back into Steven and Mark meeting Tara. And one of the reasons that Jeff Lemire's Moon Knight run was so well is this basically made you think if Moon Knight is crazy and were all of his adventure made up, and why is happening. He was just a mental patient. Now in this episode, where the jumping back and forth from was basically inside Mac's mind, so then jumping back into therapy session with Dr. Harold, now they're playing up the fact that, oh my god, this is actually even happening. Is he a mental patient? But going on here, Tara explained that they are actually in the Dua, which is basically the afterlife, and where they are currently is where their mind has contrasted this kind of a whole of the memories and past events, which I think only further fits into the thought that Mac is crazy in an asylum. Because why be detained that the mind, the picture, if it's not something that he's been most of his life? It's also worth pointing out they even mentioned the astral plane, which is the afterlife that we saw in Black Panther. Now That's something that the NCU is now confirming, that basically all religions and version of the afterlife exist in this world. We have the Dua, the astral plane, and sure there's heaven and hell for Christian. Even in Thor and Love and Thunder, they have confirmed Norse mythology, and with the gods and Greek mythology, with us going to Mount Olympus. So in the NCU, everything is canon. But we find out that Mark and Steven are stuck in this temporal plane until their scales can be balanced, granting them access to the fields of real paradise. And if the scales are not balanced, instead having to fall over onto the sand, becoming frozen in time. Here's where Mark and Steven then go off on a journey and try to see if they can balance their scales. And part of the time I was wondering, is the reason the scales are not balancing for them is because they're missing another Hawk, Jack Clockley horse. Hell, over here explaining that they need to go back into those rooms and figure out how to balance the scale. Are they going to bring out Jack Lockley and the boy is still stuck in that conference just begging for his life? Better than data. So Steven and Mark find themselves in this journey to go ahead and balance the scale, and we see events for the previous episode, like the first time he became Moon Knight, and the night that Khonshu went ahead and turned back the star, even hinting at the very backstory that we get later on this episode. So one of the rooms that they find inside is full of people that Matt has killed in his mercenary days. It was kind of interesting to see him Mac playing with his deal with his demons here. Now having Steven in the middle of this look at the side, and he sees a little kid where he runs after him, leading into the childhood of Max Spector. All of this door jumping and whatnot, we go into different memories. This is directly put off from the Lemire run, because in the comics the same situation happened. The asylum is kind of a prison for his mind. We see personalities go to different doors and adventures in the comics, where Steven was a millionaire, and he was in the set of a Moon Knight movie. We see a version of him where it was an astronaut in the moon fighting werewolf. So it's kind of really cool to see the NCU do their own version here. And this is a setup because this leads to some very tragic backstory. So not only that we get to meet the mom of Max Spector, we also find out that he had a brother here. And you can see here that he was drawing a little fish with a smaller fin cut off, hinting of the fish that we have seen later in Mark's apartment. Now his brother and Mark are going to the caves, and they said the world's litigators. And even if we get closer to the cave, we do see the remains of a bird very much resemble Khonshu. This even looks like the drawing in the beginning of the Asylum episode. Now messing with our minds, trying to wonder if this is a real memory or is a fabricated one. And the only reason I say that because if you have read the Lemire run, by the end of the series it was actually Khonshu who created this whole situation, false idea that another god was going to take over the world. Kind of what we're seeing here in the NCU, where Khonshu has been telling us with Ahmed and Hera. They are trying to take over the world, but really it was Khonshu kind of messing with Mark, breaking his mind so he could take over his body. I don't think that the NCU are going to do that and put Khonshu as the bad guy right now, but it's an important twist in the comics, so it could happen. Now sadly, this get revealed where an accident that Matt's brother died, leading into a very dramatic childhood where the mother decides to shut down, and Matt was just heartbreaking to see. Now he goes through different birthdays and in his life, and you just see his mother turn into alcoholic, and then eventually into abusing him. It was something that I wasn't expecting to see in a Moon Knight series. They was really heartbreaking. Now Oscar Isaac's performance here is just incredible. And I feel bad for Steven finding out that his mother has been dead the entire time, even though we've seen in the previous episode that he has been getting postcards of her and talking with her on the phone. So this was kind of Matt creating this happy version of himself so that he can escape to again. And it's a very something big to see in a Disney Plus show. Now, to another doors, we do finally see the origin of Matt Spector and the day he became Moon Knight, taking a look at his mission in Egypt, where we see the Lyra's father there on the ground, and he got away to the temple where this was direct proof from the comics, where he became Moon Knight and the avatar of Khonshu. Now, Steven Grant points out that Khonshu has manipulated here, and I think that yes, but I think that they both make a deal here, and it was very clear what they did here. Now, before we can go, we come back to the boat, and it heads to the gate leading out to our world. Sadly, the scale has not balanced yet, leading to the people of Sans waiting to take them out and climb the boat. At this moment, we get hints of that Steven Grant's personality will start to get more physical, and that is so great to see because we want that with Mr. Moon Knight. But unfortunately, that cost Steven his life, and he ended up in the sand frozen. The scales are now balancing and allowing Matt to set off to the fields of Rui, aka Paradise, eventually ending up in episode. And that's the end of the episode. It just left me wondering what's going to happen now, because this means that Mac is 100% there and he's stuck in the afterlife. And what's going to happen to Steven Grant? He's stuck there, and that's a personality that Mark has created. And he's going to be, if he's going to be able to turn into Mr. Moon Knight again. And what is Lyra doing right now? Is she with Dr. Harris? Is she trying to stop him? She knows she has to free Khonshu. And this is what I mean, where Marvel really likes to say all of the answers to the question to the final episode and then going to cram it all into one big finale. And I hope it was, because it's not, it's going to be doubly amazing, and it's going to leave us know of what has been an amazing show. So that's my breakdown for episode 5 of Moon Knight. Very excited for the season finale. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share this video with your friend, and please consider subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.